When the original Max Payne dropped in 2001, it was nothing short of a revelation. It popularized that bullet storm slow-mo effect that's pretty common now, and they implemented it really well as an interactive core gameplay loop. I simply cannot understate how mind-blowing this all felt at the time. Even the whole vibe of the game visually was just amazing. I remember booting it up with my friends back then and just staring at the screen, and it felt like we had crossed a threshold into true photorealistic action cinema. The storytelling was also pretty unique cause hardware at the time couldn't handle highly detailed cinematic cutscenes. They made a brilliant but budget-conscious decision to tell the story through fully voiced, graphic novel-style comic book panels. It gave the game a distinctly gritty detective vibe that perfectly matched the dark, tragic narrative. However, we gotta talk about some negatives, because as much as I love this game, playing it today can be a genuinely frustrating experience. First of all, the game is notoriously unforgiving. If you're playing the original PS2 version on something like the PS5, you're gonna feel the pain. There are no quick saves and no modern checkpoint systems. If you die, you're often sent way back and you're forced to sit through unskippable cutscenes every single time you bite the dust. And you will die a lot. Enemies possess an almost supernatural ability to snipe you the second a single pixel of your character model gets around the corner. Then there are the platforming sections. At a few points in the story, Max is drugged and you're in these nightmarish, hallucinatory blood mazes. You have to carefully walk along these thin trails of blood suspended in a pitch-black void, and if you slip, you die. All the while, a looping audio of a crying baby and a screaming woman is playing incessantly in the background. It kinda became annoying after a while, at least for me. So you might be thinking, well, I play on PC, I'll just buy it on Steam and have a great time. I gotta stop you right there. Trying to run it on modern Windows is an absolute nightmare. The game is over 2 decades old, and its engine is incredibly hostile to modern architecture. But don't worry, cause sites like PC Gaming Wiki are gonna be your absolute best friend here. In fact, it should be a routine for any PC gamer to check it before firing up any older title just to see what kind of improvements are available. I know that sounds like a lot of work, because it is a lot of work. I'm also gonna put how and what to do to fix your game in the description below, so do check it out. But once you apply all these fixes, the game is simply a masterpiece. Now let's talk about your time. For someone with a busy schedule, is Max Payne 1 worth it? Absolutely, yes. The beauty about games from this era is that they didn't suffer from open world bloat. So you're looking at a very tight, highly focused experience, and if you just focus on the main story, it's gonna take you roughly 8 hours to complete. But if you're the kind of player who likes to explore every bathroom for painkillers and read every piece of lore, you're looking at maybe 10 or 11 hours, which is pretty decent. Released in 2003, Max Payne 2 is arguably where the Remedy-era gameplay completely peaked. As a sequel, it is an absolute masterclass in iterative design. They clearly looked at everything that annoyed people in the first game and just scrubbed it out. Those awful, tedious platforming, gone. The frustrating, unfair difficulty spikes, most of it got fixed. The narrative gets even darker, heavily leaning into a twisted romance between Max and an assassin named Mona Sachs. The voice acting is vastly improved, the graphic novel panels look a bit more polished, and the facial models actually have a handful of real expressions this time around. But for me, it was the gunplay, and my god, the gunplay in Max Payne 2 is just sublime. They actually made 2 massive changes that kind of changed the flow of combat. First, they integrated the Havoc physics engine, meaning that enemies no longer died with those weird, stiff animations, instead were now full ragdolls. There's just something about blasting an enemy with a shotgun and watching them physically backflip and crash into a pile of cardboard boxes, which is immensely satisfying, and honestly, it still feels incredible today. The second and more important change was that you could shoot/dodge whenever you want, meaning the game encourages you to be wildly aggressive, constantly leaping through the air and dealing out cinematic punishment. This was so much fun back then and still holds up really well. And in terms of your time, Max Payne 2 respects your schedule even more than the first one. The pacing is absolutely perfect. The main story is only going to take you about 6+ hours to beat. Even if you go for absolutely everything, you're still looking at around 8 to 10 hours. It's short, yes, but it's all killer and zero filler. If you're playing on PC, you still have to deal with some jank, but it's not as broken as the first one. But more than this, we gotta have a serious conversation about actually trying to buy these first two games, cause depending on where you live in the world, Rockstar has made it literally impossible to give them your money. Back in 2021, a massive wave of delistings hit Steam. You can't buy them, can't even see the store page. And the bizarre thing is that the restrictions seem incredibly arbitrary. For instance, the game is blocked in Saudi Arabia, but people in Morocco can still buy them despite being in the same general Steam grouping. It's a complete mess. Also, I read somewhere that it has weird language restrictions, like you can only buy the French localization if you live in France. And if you thought about bypassing Steam and buying it on GOG, forget it, they aren't there either. It's really frustrating that you gotta jump through these grey market hoops just to play a 20-year-old game, but that's the sad reality of this all-digital future.
Cleaners was a misnomer. They were making a mess of it.
Fast forward almost a decade to 2012, Remedy is out and Rockstar is in charge to build the next chapter. The release of Max Payne 3 was a massive shock for the fans, including me. Gone are the perpetually dark streets, gone are the graphic novel comic panels and that cool leather jacket. Instead we find Max in Brazil. He's older, he's heavier, he's completely bald, and he's sweating through a tropical shirt while downing whiskey and painkillers to cope with his trauma. The writing, entirely handled by Dan Houser, shifts to a cynical, highly cinematic style that Rockstar is known for. But gameplay-wise, it's arguably one of the best third-person shooters ever. Max actually has weight to him, and when you dive down a flight of stairs, you can feel the impact as his shoulder slams into the ground. And the attention to detail is there too. Like if you're holding an assault rifle and you switch to your pistol, Max doesn't just put the rifle into an invisible pocket. He physically holds the rifle in his left hand by the barrel while aiming the pistol with his right hand, which looks pretty badass. The gunplay also feels heavy and satisfying. It's an absolute joy to play. However, there's a massive, borderline unforgivable flaw here, at least for me, and that's the unskippable cutscenes. Rockstar was obsessed with creating a seamless cinematic experience without any visible loading screens. And to achieve this, they hid all of the background loading behind the cutscenes. The result is that you literally cannot skip the vast majority of the cinematics in the game because the next room hasn't finished rendering yet.
Fuck you! You killed my son! You fucking spick! Ow!
Because of all these unskippable cinematics and the larger scope of the game, it now demands significantly more of your time than the first two games combined. The campaign is gonna take you roughly 10 hours, and if you want 100% the game, you're looking at a massive 35 hours. The good news, however, is the pricing. Unlike the first two games, Max Payne 3 is widely available everywhere, and it's incredibly cheap and goes on sale constantly. So where does the franchise go from here? Well, if you have been holding off on playing the original games for whatever reason, then I have some good news for you. Remedy has officially entered into an agreement with Rockstar to completely remake Max Payne 1 and 2 from the ground up. No, it's not going to be a simple HD remaster, they're actually rebuilding both games as a single package using their proprietary Northlight engine. And if you don't know what that means, it's an absolute powerhouse used to build Control and the recent Alan Wake 2. The visual fidelity we're gonna get in these remakes is gonna be pretty crazy. So, is the Max Payne franchise worth playing? Well, yes and no. If you want to play the first two games, I would say just wait for the remakes, unless you really want to experience the originals or if the nostalgia is killing you. And as for Max Payne 3, yes, get it, but again, wait for it to go on sale and then just play the heck out of it.